Have you ever been happy with someone new, feeling alive again, light, even with butterflies in your stomach, and suddenly realize that your children, of all people, don't approve? That they give you sideways looks, ask sidelong questions, or don't even hide their discomfort? It's as if just when you started to believe you could still be happy, someone comes along and pulls the rug out from under you. And worse, someone you love. If you're going through this, take a deep breath. We'll talk. Calmly, with affection, like someone sitting with a friend on a porch and letting time pass while they talk about life. No judgments, no formulas, just a heart wanting to understand the other. It's just that after 60, life moves at a different pace, right? We've seen a lot. We've been wrong and we've gotten it right. We've loved, we've been disappointed, we've raised children, we've done so much for others. And now that your children are grown and have moved on with their lives, you finally feel like you can look at yourself again. That you can make choices that have more to do with how you feel and not just what others expect of you. And then when this new love appears, it's not just a fling. It's as if time opens a new window. And for the first time in a long time, you find yourself desired or desiring. You find yourself laughing more easily, sleeping with a peaceful soul. Life begins to take on a new color. And let's face it, we deserve it. We simply deserve it. But then comes the realization your children don't like the idea, or they don't like the person, or they don't like seeing you in love. And your heart is torn because you love your children in a way that's hard to explain. And you love this new person too, but they're different kinds of love, and no one seems to understand that. You know what happens? Your children carry an image of you, an idea of who you are. To them, you're a father, you're a mother, you're that figure who was there, solid, constant. And it's as if suddenly you're changing that role. It's as if they're saying, now my father has a different priority, my mother has a different focus. And deep down, what they feel may be fear. Fear of losing you, fear of no longer recognizing their place in your life. And it's okay to feel that way. We felt that fear too. Remember when your kids started growing up, going out more, falling in love? Didn't you feel jealous? Did you miss the time when they were just yours? Well, now it's the opposite. Now they're the ones feeling it. But feeling doesn't give you the right to control. And that's where the delicate point of this story comes in. How to find the balance between the right to be happy and caring for family relationships. The first thing I want to remind you is your desire to be with someone, to experience a mature, sincere, and affectionate love is not selfish. It's humanity. It's life. Time may pass, the body may change, but the heart still beats the same. And wanting to experience this isn't disrespectful to anyone. It's self-care. But it's also true that the more we focus on communication, the more likely we are to build bridges instead of walls. Sometimes children just need to be heard. And I know, sometimes what they say hurts. This person just wants your money. You're not thinking about us. That's ridiculous. It makes you want to shut down, fight, or even give up. But look, listening isn't about agreeing. Listening is about welcoming. And when you give them space to speak, calmly and respectfully, you're also demonstrating the kind of relationship you want to build. One where everyone has a voice, but also one where their happiness matters. Perhaps a good start is acknowledging their discomfort, saying something like, I realize this is hard for you, and it hurts me to see this distance between us. I don't want to hurt you, but I need to take care of myself too. See, this isn't putting yourself down, nor is it giving in. It's speaking as equals, with love, with maturity. What if their fear is losing you? Show them otherwise. Be present. Continue being a father, a mother. Schedule lunches. Ask how they're doing. Show them that even with someone by your side, they still have your heart. Because in truth, no one is replacing anyone else. Love is only growing, multiplying. But they'll only realize this if they feel they're not being left out. Now, there's another point we need to discuss. What if deep down they're right? What if this new person really isn't right for you? It's hard to admit, but sometimes the heart is wrong. So it's also important to listen carefully, observe their actions, see if this partner respects you, supports you, and values you. Because despite initial resistance, many children just want to be sure they're being treated well. If the arguments are based on facts like controlling attitudes, aggression, or contempt, then perhaps it's time to rethink.
But if it's just jealousy, judgment, or resistance to seeing you happy, then that's a different story, and you have every right to live that story. Because after all, you've lived long enough to know what true love is, what partnership is, what it means to care and be cared for. And maybe this is a unique chance to start over, with affection, with presence, with soul. What can't happen is you giving up your happiness just to please others, even if those others are your children. Because if you suppress yourself, remain silent, and conform, you know what's left? Emptiness, heaviness, a sadness that little by little extinguishes your light, and you don't deserve that. You deserve to feel life pulsing again. So take a deep breath, look within, and ask yourself, does this person make me feel good? Do they treat me with respect? Do they bring me peace? If the answer is yes, then it's worth it. And time, with affection, patience, and firmness, can help build this bridge with your children. But what if they keep resisting? What if this relationship is putting you in a place of constant conflict? How can you deal with this tension without losing yourself? We'll continue this conversation in a bit, okay? You know, it's funny how love matures over time. When we're young, passion comes like a whirlwind, intense, impulsive, almost unbridled. But after a certain age, what we seek is something else. It's peace, it's presence, it's companionship. It doesn't have to be grandiose or cinematic, just be sincere. And if it involves respect, laughter, and a hug at the right time, anything goes. And that's what many don't understand, especially children. Because in their minds, you've already fulfilled your role. You raised them, cared for them, and abdicated. And now it's time to rest. But what does that mean? Being alone? Accepting the silence of an empty house? Pretending everything's fine when all you wanted was someone to share Sunday lunch with? The truth is, when your children don't approve, you're not just dealing with their opinion. You're dealing with a much deeper emotional layer, your guilt. That inner voice that keeps whispering, am I being unfair to my children? Am I prioritizing my own desires and forgetting what I've built? And let me tell you something you might need to hear out loud. You have the right to be happy. Even if your children don't understand, even if they don't approve, even if they protest, your right to happiness doesn't disappear with age. It grows, because now you have more awareness, more wisdom, more clarity about what you want. And that's not selfishness, it's maturity. Of course it hurts when your children distance themselves, when they stop calling, when they avoid you. It hurts like an invisible wound. And it's at this point that many parents consider giving up on their new love, out of fear, out of sadness, out of longing for the bond with their children. But often, giving up doesn't solve the problem, because what your children are asking for, even without realizing it, isn't that you give up on love. It's that you continue to be a presence in their lives. So maybe it's time to ask different questions. Instead of asking, how can I get them to accept my partner? Ask, how can I strengthen my bond with my children, even as I navigate this new phase of my life? That changes everything. Because you see, children don't need to love their partner. They just need to respect their choice. And that's achieved with time, consistency, and most importantly, action. Remember the first time you met a friend's partner and didn't like them? Sometimes we judge by first impressions, by appearance, by the way they speak. But then, over time, you begin to see who that person really is. Coexistence reveals what the naked eye doesn't immediately perceive, and it can be the same with your children, if you give them a chance. So perhaps a good strategy is to take it slow. Don't force it. Don't force the relationship down anyone's throat. Invite them for coffee, a light lunch, a family outing. No pressure, no acceptance speech, just the opportunity to spend time together. Let time reveal who this person is who is now part of your life. And of course, it's also important to talk to your partner. Explain that your children are still adjusting, that they might say harsh things, that they might distance themselves, and that in this process, you need support, not pressure, because a mature relationship isn't just about affection, it's about partnership in the face of challenges. Your partner needs to understand that your children are important in your life, and that this relationship isn't a threat, but rather an expansion. Mature love has room to grow without competition. Now, let's be honest, this doesn't always work out right away. Some children withdraw into their own world. They don't want to listen. They feel betrayed, as if you're forgetting about their family.
Sometimes, behind this resistance, there are old wounds, things left unresolved in the past, a painful divorce, childhood hurts, unspoken feelings. And then, the new partner becomes just the easiest target for a long-standing discomfort. At these times, it may be necessary to give space. Let your children process their thoughts. Give them time, without forcing anything closer, but also without giving up on living your life, because your mission as a parent continues, but so does your mission as a human being. What if this conflict drags on for a long time? Well, maybe you need to seek support, a conversation with a therapist, a mediated dialogue, someone from the outside who can help put emotions into words and facilitate understanding. There's no shame in that. On the contrary, seeking help shows emotional maturity. Now, it's also important to note something very serious. If your children are crossing boundaries, disrespecting you, humiliating your partner, threatening you emotionally, that's not protection. That's abuse. And it needs to be addressed. Firmly. With love, yes, but with boundaries. You don't have to accept anything just to keep the peace. Sometimes true peace only comes after laying your cards on the table. And along the way, do you know what helps? Remembering who you are. The person you've been your whole life, the choices you've made, the values you've held dear. You deserve respect. You deserve to be heard. And you deserve love. This journey of finding love again after 60 is a beautiful opportunity. It's like blossoming again, only now with deep roots. And you don't have to choose between your children and your partner. You just need to remember that true love doesn't divide, it adds. But what happens when neither side wants to compromise? When the chasm seems too wide? Is it even possible to build a bridge? That's what we'll talk about in the third part. Because life doesn't end when others give up trying to understand. It continues. And sometimes it surprises. Have you ever noticed that sometimes the most difficult relationships are precisely those with the people we love the most? Because where there's a lot of love, there's also a lot of expectation. And sometimes pain arises not because people want to hurt, but because they don't know how to deal with what they feel. This is the case with children who don't accept your new partner. Behind the rejection, silence, or criticism, there may be someone lost between their love for you and the fear of losing you. And you, there on the other side, in the midst of this emotional storm, trying to balance two worlds that seem incomprehensible, trying to maintain the love for the one you created with so much effort, while making room for a new love that makes you smile again. It's a difficult dance. One step here, another there, and sometimes it feels like you're going to stumble. But let me tell you something from the heart. You don't have to choose between the love for your children and the love for your new partner. The real challenge is making sure that both of you can coexist, even with limits, differences, and adaptations. Because love, when it's mature, has room to coexist. Of course, this requires patience, a lot of patience.
Sometimes it's like caring for a stubborn plant. You water it, give it sunlight, give it attention, and it still takes a while to bloom. But with consistency, it blooms, and family bonds can also blossom again, even after a difficult period. Now, it's important to remember that this construction needs to come from all sides. If you've done your part, listened, welcomed, talked, shown love, and yet your children continue to punish you, ignore you, or treat your relationship with contempt, perhaps it's time to accept that not everything is under your control. And that's not failure. That's life. You have the right to live in peace, to wake up next to someone who makes you feel good, to plan trips, to walk hand in hand, to laugh without guilt. Because this phase of life, after 60, isn't the end of the line. It's the beginning of a new road, and you still have a lot to live for. Don't accept living suffocated by guilt. Guilt is not synonymous with love. Guilt paralyzes. Love liberates. And sometimes, loving your children is precisely showing them that you have a life too. That being a mother or father is part of your identity, but it's not all of who you are. That behind this role lies a human being with feelings, desires, and dreams, still alive. And if they don't understand now, maybe they will later. Life teaches, sometimes with words, sometimes with time, but you can't put your joy on hold waiting for someone else to understand. You deserve a healthy relationship, one that adds to your life, strengthens you, and listens to you. You deserve someone who sees you whole, who values your story, who respects your space with your children, even when things are tense. Because true love doesn't try to isolate you from your family.
It tries to bring you closer to yourself. And you know what? Your children are also going through their own processes. They have their struggles, their pains, their own developments. And one day, perhaps when they're more mature, they'll look back and realize how brave you were to follow your heart, even in the face of resistance. Because being a father, being a mother, is for life. But living life to the fullest also needs to be. And if along the way you need to set boundaries, do so with respect. If you need to step away for a while, do so with love. If you need to say, "I love you, but I can't keep erasing who I am just to make you feel comfortable," then say it firmly, truthfully. Life after 60 is a gift, and it can, yes, be full of passion, exchanges, unexpected laughter, and warm winter nights with someone who makes you feel good. It can be sweet, light, and meaningful. But for that to happen, you have to allow yourself to. Allow yourself to live. Allow yourself to feel. Allow others to have their time, but without letting that time freeze your soul. Now, if you're still afraid of moving forward, of hurting your children, of experiencing something new, think about this. What example do you want to leave? That of someone who sacrificed themselves to keep up appearances? Or that of someone who, with wisdom and love, chose to be whole? Because deep down, children learn more from what we experience than from what we say. And showing that it's possible to love again, respect others, and still maintain family bonds is teaching courage. It's teaching that life doesn't have to end when roles change. So, my friend, don't be afraid to live. If this relationship is good for you, if it makes you smile, if it gives you peace, if it helps you be a better version of yourself, then it deserves to exist, and you deserve to be in it fully. And if your children still don't understand, keep your heart open, without submitting, but also without hardening. Time, sometimes, is the best mediator of conflicts, and love, true love, doesn't give up, but neither does it sacrifice itself to the point of disappearing. You've made it this far. You've faced so many difficult times. You've cared, created, sacrificed, and sustained. Now, it's time to be cared for too, to be loved, to live fully. And you know what? There's still time. There's still time to be happy. There's still time to live a beautiful story, a story of your own. If this video spoke to you, if it somehow brought clarity, acceptance, or even a spark of courage, I invite you to continue with us. Subscribe to the channel here. Like this video, it really helps us reach more people. And share it with someone who's going through something similar. Sometimes a conversation like this can make all the difference. Share your experience in the comments. What was it like going through this with your children? Did you feel supported or judged? Let's continue this conversation in the comments, like someone continuing a conversation after coffee, with respect, empathy, and truth. Because in the end, living with love, with lightness, and with freedom is the greatest gift we can give ourselves. You deserve this.